Earl Bassett, now a washed-up ex-celebrity, is hired by a Mexican oil company to eradicate a grabboid epidemic that's killing more people each day. However, the humans aren't the only ones with a new battle plan. This is episode 195 of the Watchin podcast. I'm your host, Robert, and with me is Donnell. And today we're talking about Tremors 2 Aftershocks.
Yep.
We couldn't think of anything else to do, so we're keeping doing Tremors.
Robert, before we dive into this, we usually don't do this for the movies, but we got to segue to some news.
Oh, okay.
Because there's some news, some important news, some sad news.
There is some sad news. Carl Weathers
passed away.
He died today.
Yeah.
As we're recording this.
I saw that and I was like, damn.
76.
I mean, yeah.
You know,
it's a good life. It's a good life.
He didn't die, quote, young.
No.
You know.
And I mean, freaking A. Predator, freaking just everything. I don't know. He's been around forever. Rocky, yep. He's been around forever, and I mean, or more recently, he was in the Mandalorian. Yep. He was in the Mandalorian. Played a great character in that.
A loss.
Yeah. I don't know. Like you said, 76 isn't young, but still, I didn't see it coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
With some of the, don't get me, I'm knock on wood, but some of the actors actually, and once again, knock on wood, but I saw a picture of Ian McKellen. And want to know what gets me about Ian McKellen is I saw this picture of Ian McKellen, and I had to stop myself just now from doing it. Even if it's not written, you see a picture of Ian McKellen, like, sure, Ian McKellen, because everyone knows he's a knight. And it just pops in your head, like, sure, Ian McKellen. Yeah. But yeah, like, I think about, like, they're like, there's older, and I'm like, I just didn't see Carl Weathers checking out before some of the other ones. Yeah. But just a sad one. But all right, now that that's out of the way, let's get into
Tremors 2 Aftershocks. I remembered seeing this, couldn't remember anything about the movie. And then as soon as I started watching it, memories started flooding back. Yeah. You know, I had like salient details, but the ones that really came back were like all the Michael Gross lines. All the lines that he does in this, he is a treasure. There's a reason that he goes on to just make a bunch of these.
Yes.
Because he really nails it. Anyway, 5.9 on IMDb. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Holds up very well, I thought. Not some CG. Some CG is definitely dated.
Yes and no. Because like that's one thing that I wrote down though. Like, because I did put, especially on the back half when there's a lot more of the little things around. But like just some of the shots, like when they had it in a cage and other stuff, I was like, this is actually. And like,
they had a lot of the practical effects.
The practical effects
were amazing.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. Like the practical effects,
like when it like coughs up the baby to breed and it's in that sack and coming out of the sack. I'm like, how did they do?
Or even
this?
the when they go up to the corpse of the one that the first one and just like the detail.
Yeah,
I was just like.
Even small things. Like I want to know how they shot the scene where the truck's getting pulled backwards. And this chain is in the ground, like popping up out of it. Like I'm just like, how did they do that? Like, there was some stuff that they did in this.
There was some work for a direct to DVD movie or video. Sorry,
direct to video
back in the day before we had DVDs. It was on a cassette somewhere or VHS somewhere. But it's just a lot of this, like, wow.
I wonder why this went direct to video and didn't make it into the theater. I feel like this came out in April 1996. I mean, maybe I felt like this was good enough for the theater in 96. You know,
I feel like this was. And like I said, I originally thought it had. I thought the first two. Two Tremors were both in theaters, but it's only the original one.
Yeah. When we get to 3, I read the plot for 3.
Yeah.
That's when things go off the rails and get just ridiculous and out of control. Shot on a budget of $4 million. Brisk, 97 minutes long. Oh, I love it. I love it. An hour and a half long action movie.
So sometimes when it comes to doing these movies, one of the things because I've been a procrastinator my whole life. That's just who I am. I know it. That's the way I roll. And so most of the time I'm watching this the night before. And sometimes it'll be like, oh, I should go to bed. I'm like, oh crap, gotta watch a movie. And with the Tremors movie, it's like it's only an hour and a half.
I can just fit this in.
Where there's been other times I was like, this is 2.5 hours. Like I need to get some sleep. And so I will say that these nice you're in it. Tremors movies, I'm just like, this is fantastic. Even for a procrastinator like me, I can still squeeze this in just fine.
Very, very small cast. This may be close to one of the smallest cast in anything I've ever watched. Obviously, I watched Devant, which only had 3 and really only had one person.
Yeah.
Like there are probably some movies out there with like 2 people or just one person the whole
time.
But
those are movies that also are kind of like set up to be like
this
is meant to be like a individual viewing or like starring thing. Like I've watched stuff with smaller casts in this, but that was like kind of like part of the focal of the story. Is that like the one that comes to mind right now is the William Dafoe movie that just came out recently where he's trapped inside like a house, and it's like, but that was that's the focal point is he's trapped alone. So you don't need a big cast.
This had a total cast of 9 people, including the narrator.
Okay, including the narrator.
Including the narrator, which was S.S. Wilson, who wrote and directed and did all this. Yeah.
Yes.
Just and most of the cast is just like in and out. Just gone.
I mean, that's actually one of the things I dinged the movie for compared to the first one. Is, don't get me wrong, neither one of them was like gripping characters, but like other than the characters that returned and one guy who also I hate it, but still they didn't really do enough to make you endeared to any of the characters more. Like they're just there.
Look, it's about the graboids.
It is about the graboids. I'm just saying, in the
people.
first movie, I knew I knew multiple characters. And I was like, yeah, I got these people and stuff. Where in this one, I was like, I got Earl and Burt.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
But let's talk about our big 4, which is Fred Ward.
Yep.
Right.
Returns.
We're not talking about the director and writer and stuff. You can go listen to our Tremors episode. We go into depth on that. We go into depth on Fred Ward. Michael Gross, of course.
Yep.
Back for this. Then we have Chris Garton, who plays Grady Hoover. He's done a bunch of TV. He's been a fine getting a job actor.
I was looking at him and I was like, I feel like I know this guy.
I look at his face. I'm like, I know this guy, but
IMDb, and I'm like, other than Tremors movie-wise, I'm like, he really hasn't been in anything that I recognize. But like you said, solid TV actor. And that's probably where I recognize him from, is like plenty of the things he's been in for an episode or two. I was like, oh yeah, I watched that. So,
I mean, I love like all of his stuff. He's just like sexy waiter Scott. Or he was like his known for is like Black Swan. He plays sexy waiter Scott. Mother. These are big movies.
Yeah.
He plays adulterer.
Okay.
And then like he was in some True Blood, and then his 4th biggest movie is Tremors 2 Aftershocks. When Tremors 2 Aftershocks is in your known for, you're kind of like, 5, I don't know. He played God in No Leftovers, some short that was out there. I don't know. He's getting work. He's doing
solid work. I mean,
I wasn't a fan of the character he played in this. Not necessarily his problem.
No, not his
writing
problem at all.
But if he was wrote this way, I think he nailed this annoying, stupid character. I don't know why this guy didn't really take off. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he just didn't have the chutzpah in Hollywood or whatever. But, it's fine. It's fine.
Yep.
Next, we have Helen Shaver playing Kate White Riley. I don't know why she's got to be white in there. She couldn't just be Kate Riley. They call her Kate the whole thing. I don't know why.
Don't even know her last name. Why do we need a middle name?
Best known for this and playing Littlefoot's mother in The Land Before Time. She's done a bunch of other stuff. She's done a bunch of TV and whatnot. She's been around. She made money. She had a career, but never really took off.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody does, but I mean, and that's the thing. Whenever people think about movies and Hollywood and stars, everyone's thinking of the Brad Pitt and stuff.
99% of them.
There are so many people where it's like, this is just like everything. This is just a job. They're getting work. They're getting paid. They're going home and doing normal stuff. They load the dishwasher at home. They don't.
Yeah,
get
that's
servants.
Like we had the Screen Actors Guild strike. This past year. And everyone was like, "Oh, why does Brad Pitt need more money? Why does Angelina Jolie need more money?
Them.
Why does Ian McKellen? Whatever." It's like, no, it's about the other 10,000 actors that are just doing bit parts on TV, making sure that they have health insurance and not getting their face scanned by the algorithm for life, and then not getting any money after, kind of thing. So Yeah.
So real quick though, now I can't remember her action I was going to call Helen. So like I said, maybe her movie and TV, maybe she didn't blow up, but I'm actually another part of her thing is she's done quite a bit of directing, and in stuff like Westworld, Snowpiercer, freaking. Well, this isn't great, but the newest Quantum Leap, Orphan Black, Vikings, like in some pretty high profile shows, Stargate. For crying out loud.
Nice.
So I'm just like, it's like maybe she didn't want to act. Maybe she got into directing. She's like, this is my niche. This is where I'm at. This is what I do. Because like I said, it's not just like weird one-off shows. Like it's like there's some Law and Order up in here. freaking castle.
Travelers.
Yeah, Travelers. Like, yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, no, she's got it. She's got a career. She's making money. She's doing just
Hey,
fine.
something I think you've just finished finally. Elementary.
Yeah.
See, you did some of that. So I was like, yeah.
No Supernatural.
Oh.
No Supernatural.
How? How do you direct this much and you're not Supernatural?
15 seasons of 24 episodes. You couldn't get one for Helen Shaver.
You couldn't get one?
And finally, I just want to mention it's not a main character, but he is in it. Marcelo Tubert, who plays Senor Ortega. He's probably like the face that I know.
Really?
Like, I look at him and I'm like, oh, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. Like, he was in West Wing and Jane the Virgin, G.I. Joe Retaliation, Star Trek The Next Generation. Like, he is a character actor that's been in a ton of stuff. He's also done a bunch of voice work. Like, he did a character in Starfield and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I just thought he was worth mentioning, even though he's only in this for like 5 minutes.
I'm looking at one of the things he's in is Justice League Gods and Monsters. And I just love that he played tough guy. just straight up.
I mean, he did about he's under World of Warcraft as various voices. So I mean, he's out there. But
yep.
Not really much else to say about this.
It's a small cast.
It didn't go to the theater, so I don't have anything to say what it was up against.
Well, it was up against nothing. Direct video, you just get out there.
It was up against the new release section at Blockbuster. This was a movie you got from the brick and mortar mom and pop video rental place, right? You didn't get this at Blockbuster. Got this from the whatever the little one that was run by Fanatics.
That used to be a thing.
They had one.
I remember, not just for movies, but when growing up in Marysville, they went, eventually Blockbuster took them out of business, but there was a video game store also. Like, that was just a brick and mortar, not a GameStop, not a Blockbuster. It's a straight up just some hobbyist dude with a bunch of games.
Nice.
And I always get the best deals there. And also, like, you could just go and hang out and chat because the guy running it, since he's running a video game.
Yeah.
Like, he was a huge video game nerd. Just hanging out with this dude, talking video games.
No,
Same with those mom and pop.
They had one on
stores.
Capitol Hill in Seattle about 10 years ago. It didn't last very long because, it's just, it is what it is. This was when Netflix was really getting started and whatnot. But some kids opened up a little video store there, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It had the weirdest movies, and you could go in and be like, let's talk to the guy and have him recommend something, pick up a couple of movies.
Like, what would you recommend? And that guy would always be like, oh, well, let me see.
Let's take it back to the dark corner that you're not usually going to. Let's like tell him like, hey, I want some Hellraiser stuff. He's like, oh, I got you, buddy. You know?
You don't even know.
All right, let's talk about the plot of this movie.
Let's jump in. Let's go.
Yeah. I love the opening music for this.
Yes.
Could not figure out what it was. I guess it was made for this, but it is not on the soundtrack or score album for this movie. There was one. And Shazam could not identify it.
Okay.
But it's on YouTube, and I found it and saved it to my favorites, but I'm like, oh man, I need this like in my collection. This is a nice chill tune. I would love driving through Arizona for this to come on the feed. And I'm like, oh, that would be great.
And I mean, said this about the first movie, but this one even more so. Like the first movie, I think we had like maybe 10 minutes before we got to the point. Yeah. Where this one's like, oh no.
Grabboid in the first 5 minutes.
Right to it. I was like, they do not mess around in a Tremors movie.
They don't have any like mystery this time around. Yeah, we know the Grabboids are here.
Exactly.
It's in the title. It's on the box.
We know it. Like, we saw the first one. We know it. But still, I just love it. It's like they don't mess around. There's no, let's get it. Let's bring him in with 15 minutes. It's, no. You're in it.
Starts with a worker. He's up on a pipe. We immediately know what's going on.
Yeah.
He is hiding from a Graboid. That's the only reason he's up there shimmying along. I love how they do it, where it just shows his legs. I thought there were some really great shots in this movie. Yeah, like just we'll get into more of them, but it was a great shot because it's just like, he's sets the scene immediately, and all I'm seeing is a guy's feet not touching the ground and moving across the screen. I'm like, this is a guy who is hanging on something, trying to hide the Graboid. Yeah.
So he goes across this pipe, and then eventually he gets to, which I love in the Tremors universe. There's always a thing of obstacles you can conveniently go across the top to get to a vehicle. Like that's just the way the world works. I walked up my house, my front today, and I'm like, there was like graboids in my front lawn.
Yeah, if
I
there was
can't
lava
get to my
on the
car.
ground, you're not getting to your car.
Yeah, but in the Tremors universe, it's like, nah, there's always. But he starts hopping across these barrels that are empty, which really sucks for him.
Yep.
And the graboid starts knocking him over, and he continues to hop on him after that point. I was like, no. Once I see the graboid plowing through those barrels, I'm jumping and both ways, you're probably going to die. But you got a lot better. Get your feet on the ground and just book it.
Well, we don't know. We don't know how much he knows about what's going on with these graboids.
True.
We don't know if he's the first guy that's been killed or if he's like the sixth guy has been killed. Right?
Yeah.
And so he may not know the rules yet. But I'm like, jumping on these barrels is going to attract the worm.
Yes.
Like this.
Yes. 100%.
Also, if you walk without rhythm, if you just stop, it'll stop coming after you.
Yep.
But
he definitely didn't know that part. I mean, we'll get to that a little bit later.
So the third movie is called Back to Perfection.
Yes.
Right? But this movie starts out in perfection because it starts out in Perfection Valley, which is our next scene. We get to Earl. And I'm like, Earl, why are you going back?
Yeah.
Why would you go back?
Why would you go back? Like, I question a lot. I mean, Earl talks about it a little bit, but I'm just like, why? Like, okay. If
he never made it to Bigsby.
Yeah. My thing is this: is like, if I am like, whether I mean, like I said, in this case, discover of a new creature. Or I guess we actually find out a really old creature.
Yeah.
But yeah, discover a new creature and I get rich from it. I'm like,
all
the
discoveries
things,
of new creatures are really old creatures.
True. But of all the things, I'm just like, why an ostrich farm? Why would you think that's what to do with my winnings?
Yeah.
Is an ostrich farm?
Yeah, I don't know.
How did you think an ostrich farm
For
in the
some
middle
reason in my
of
head,
nowhere?
I thought he was like a alpaca farmer or something, which I kind of get. But I'm like, what is the economics of an ostrich farm? The eggs you can't use.
No.
I don't know. There's like a good video that shows like Gordon Ramsay or somebody like he's like gonna cook an ostrich egg.
Yeah.
And he's like, here, I'm gonna cook 32 eggs over here because that equals one ostrich egg. And he tries to crack it, and he's like, okay, let's go get some industrial saws to cut into this thing because the shell is 1.5 inches thick.
Yeah.
It's just not practical.
No
so I'm like, is the meat good? The
I mean,
feathers?
I have
guess
heard
the
of people
feathers?
eating ostrich.
Down feathers from ostriches?
Yeah, maybe, but I just don't see how, like, this is all right, I got the money, this is the plan, an ostrich farm.
I guess you're going to sell the baby ostriches as pets to somebody, but I don't know who's keeping ostriches as pets. They're mean.
Yeah,
they're not
bizarre.
cuddly things, yeah. But I love, another shot I love, is if you don't know what's happening, you think he's wrestling with a horse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
That's a nice bait and switch that they did very well and well shot.
You think, okay, he got some horses he's wrangling. It's like, nah, man, went with ostriches for some reason. Yeah, he's at perfection in the middle of nowhere and trying to run an ostrich farm that is not going well. And a car just drives up.
Yep.
With the weirdest duo when you really think about it, like, how did these two meet?
Well, he clearly the oil field guy, Senor Ortega, he gets off the plane and he just grabs the first cab.
Well, yes and no. Like, I feel like he put out a posting because the cabbie he gets is also the only guy who would probably know how to find
convergence of events.
Be able to find Earl, and like he's a big fan of everything that's gone down, knows everything about the graboids and all this stuff, has a terrible sense of fashion with a fingerless gloves and a bucket hat. I'm like, who dressed you? Who let you out of the house? I feel like
this guy is not really a cab driver. He stole that cab and to worm his way
because he saw
into
his
this
opportunity.
situation. Yeah.
Yes.
The guy was just like asking around, like, anybody know how to find Earl? And he just like, he
heard and like, I'm a cabbie, I can get you there.
He just goes and steals a cab, and that's how they get moving. But but we find out that the guy's there to hire him, hire Earl to go and kill these graboids that are attacking the oil field. Yeah.
Yes.
And he's going to pay him $50,000 a pop.
And this is where my first issue with this movie comes in. Is in this, and it later on it's even more confirmed. But I'm like, so in this world, like I said, Earl's famous. Like he's been on a bunch of magazines. He did make a bunch of money, but unfortunately it's been a while. They made a video game about the graboids. Like he is known, and graboids are known. So my thing is like, if graboids are a thing, why wouldn't the Mexican government take care of
Yes.
this? Why are we going to grab Earl?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I get Earl to help discover him, but at the end of the day, Earl, before this, was a handyman covered in shit because they messed up a septic tank. I don't think he has any specialized skills that say, this is the man. Like, I even put in my notes, I was like, Earl
he's famous,
is lucky.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he survived. Like, that's why all the people who survived this, except for maybe Burt. But even Burt only survived by luck the first time and then when they were in their basement. But anyway, still. So my thing is, I'm just like, Earl's lucky. He's not skilled. He has no specialization. Like I said, he was a handyman.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, why wouldn't the Mexican government just be like, oh, there's like if one day lions were just running loose through the streets of, Seattle, they're not going to be like, let's go find some. They're going to be like, no, they're going to get the freaking SWAT team and they're just going to start dropping. Like, that's the one thing I was just like, why? This makes no sense.
I love just before they get into the, the economics of it, that they address Kevin Bacon not being there.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we went to him first, and he was unwilling to help.
Yeah, he's like,
and then Earl's like, yeah, he's got a wife. He's living his life. He's not gonna get involved in this. He's not needy like I am. I'm like, I love that they didn't just ignore it. And then of course they did that with Reba McEntire's character as well, where she's staying with the sister. She's left him. He's
left him because he's just obsessed with conflict. He can't live in peace times, essentially. But yeah, so Earl, like I said, 50,000 ahead, essentially. And my thought was this is Grady, who's just a taxi driver, assumes, like, they never confirm this, assumes they're both getting paid 50,000 a grabble.
Yeah.
And I'm just
I would be like, no, you're getting like, you're a freshman, you're getting like 20%.
Exactly. And so my thing is like, one is like, they never said you're each getting 50,000 graboid. And then the other thing is like, if I'm Earl, I'm definitely not giving you anywhere near. One is like Grady forced himself in, like he'd say, you gotta take me, when I'm like, why? You have no skills. Like I was saying Earl is already, but at least Earl survived this. You're just some fanboy. But then also it's like Grady forced himself in, and then also it's like, no, you don't. Like you said, you bring nothing to the table.
No, this is a big oil company that can afford to pay a guy $50,000 a head to go take out these things, and they know there's a lot of them, so we're talking about millions of dollars. This Ortega guy has a lawyer with him, a negotiator, like a contract, like
Yes, I just was like,
there could be a whole side movie about the negotiations because we learned that Earl's like, I should have got a lawyer, had all this money and whatnot. He's like, he's lawyering up this time.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised we didn't see that scene where he sits them down, because like he drives down there and was like, no, you get that signed.
I would be asking,
contract.
Look, $50,000 a head in '96 is pretty good money. But I would want more than 50. I'd want 100.
Okay.
And I would want $1 million for the live one.
Yeah.
Because they 100%. Say like they'll give you twice if you get a live one. I'm like, a live one?
Yeah.
I want $1 million.
I'm not messing around.
Substantially more.
We've seen what they can do.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
All right, let's talk about the inside of his trailer here.
Okay.
First of all, Graboid video game.
Yep.
Where is it? I want it.
Yep. Why don't we have it?
Yeah. Where's our Tremors video game?
Yes. I mean, it might just be kind of like playing Dig Dug. I don't
know. No, it would be like
a Reverse Space Invaders.
No, it would be like a Vampire Survivor, like a Survivor's game, or Bullet Heaven, as you were, like where you're like on the ground and the graboids are coming at you and stuff, but they only come at you when you move, but you got to move to get up experience and that kind of stuff. I think it's doable. It's doable.
No, it's definitely doable. Yeah,
because you got to as you get further in the series, you got a bunch of different types of graboids that you can deal with. You got flying ones and all sorts of stuff. He points out a Playboy magazine pin up. Yeah. Let's talk about this for a second. Okay. By the way, there is some contention going on YouTube and Reddit about this particular subject.
Really?
Like real flame war arguments going on, because a guy did a video, because immediately I saw this and I'm like, oh, October 1974, I want to go look that up and go see who that was. Just out of curiosity and interest, right? The pinup is not of October 1974, who was Esther Cordette, a black woman.
Okay.
Right? The pinup that's on the wall is actually September 1970, Debbie Ellison.
Okay.
And there is a deleted scene from the first movie where who he's actually chasing is October 1968, which is some Denmarkian name, Dutch name I could not even begin to pronounce. But basically what they did is they picked 1974, and then they realized that that wasn't the right age for the actress because it ends up being her, right? Like Helen Shaver's character, you know, later on. And then someone had to go through and find someone that looked like her.
Right.
I'm like, why couldn't you just pick the one that looked like her?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, first of all, the other scene with 1968, you're still wrong, but it's a deleted scene. And then say that's what it is. I don't know why they had to do this whole change-up thing.
Yeah, change up the... Yeah. Who knows?
Like they were trying to get the age to match right. It's like, no, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Yeah. Except for us.
Yeah, exactly. Just for us. But yeah, so after turning down the job, he's talked into it by freaking Grady to go down to Mexico to do this.
Yep.
And also
his
talked
big
into
second
it.
chance.
I don't know how, but also talked into taking Grady with him, which I would never have done.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, oh well, I'll just leave this dude in the. I'm gonna shoot him in the leg as the zombies are coming after me.
Yeah, you know? I know. But and this is when, like you said, we arrive down here, and actually this is before once he agrees, he's told like the Mexican, and like I said, I already said this, but it just keeps hammering in my head. The Mexican army is like, yeah, we'll give you anything you need. And I was like, then why don't you take care of this? I'm sure, honestly, it would cost less. I mean, it sounds messed up, but like you don't have to pay the Mexican army $50,000 a graboid. They got their own pay going on. So I'm sure it would cost a lot less to have them do it. But no, they're going with Earl. So Robert, this seems dumb, but what is it? Do you call it scissors, rocks, paper, or rock, paper, scissors?
This is exactly what I was about to. Rock.
It's rock, paper,
scissors.
Exactly.
Not scissors, rock, paper.
Yeah.
Or paper, rock, scissors.
It is
rock, paper, scissors.
I'm like, who
every
calls
time
it
I
scissors,
hear
rock, paper?
Let's not even
paper,
talk about
scissors,
the
rock.
lunatics out there that call it Rochambeau.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what's going on with those people.
Don't need any of those guys. If I'm hanging out with somebody, if I'm hanging out with somebody and we're trying to be like, hey, you want to do this? Who's paying? And they say Rochambeau, I'm like, you know what? You pay because I'm not sticking around.
Yeah. Who came up with rock, paper, scissors? When did that happen?
That's some question.
I tried looking up on Wikipedia. I could not find like a big detail. I mean, there's a ton to read about it, but
I will say Grady later on. I mean, it's something everyone has always said, but Grady later on points out the whole flaw where rock beats scissors because you can smash the scissors. Scissors beats paper because you can cut the paper. But paper beating rock has never sat. Well, like Grady even says, he's like, rock punches hole through paper. I'm like, exactly. And he's like, no.
so he calls it scissors, rock, paper.
Mm-hmm.
The American etymology is rock, paper, scissors. But apparently in New Zealand and Australia, it's scissors, paper, rock. And I don't like that at all.
Scissors, paper, rock. Okay.
I cannot imagine a world that does not sound right to me. Like, it does not.
And that is how World War III was started. Anyways, they pay. Now I can't even remember. I just wrote it down. I can't remember why they played. I almost said scissors, rock, paper. Why they played rock, paper, scissors in this scene. But yeah, they drove down there, which I also thought was weird. I was like, if you're paying me $50,000 a graboid,
well, he's got to get his truck down there. That's his.
Do you need a truck? You use any truck?
I mean, he made some money. He didn't buy it. That he's still using that same truck.
Yeah,
he's not gonna upgrade that truck.
You can't fly me down, and you have a truck. The military is going to give me a box full of dynamite, and later on we see they'll give literally anything.
Yeah,
they can't give me a truck.
By the way,
they got freaking Burt. They gave him a truck.
Yeah,
can't give me a truck.
See, at first I thought he brought his own truck, but I'm like, oh no, he got that from the army.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like this. I like his truck.
Oh yeah,
this has got probably a workhorse truck. It does not have any electronics going on, and I don't know how they wire up this seismograph screen that they've got in it.
That seismograph screen is very questionable because there's a part where he's walking with it in his hands. And I'm like, what's powering that?
Yeah, where's that? Yeah,
who made that?
Yeah, running on the same batteries they used in the Explorers. Like,
So he gets a bunch of dynamite is
Yep.
their game plan. I mean, it's a pretty simple, honestly. Like after this is jumping ahead a little bit because we got to talk about the romantic interest who shows up.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, after they get started with the hunting, I was like, you know what? Why were you so if it's this simple? Why were you so opposed? Like this is $50,000 to sit on your truck with a little RV and just. I'm just like, nah, I sign me up.
Yeah.
But anyways, we meet our love interest who is. Once again, apparently this Tremors is all about falling in love with geologists.
Hey, they're around. I mean, it's all about earthquakes and stuff like that. Yeah.
We find out that she worked for the company, and I have so many questions about this. Not that she worked for the company, but she makes it clear, like, oh yeah, like we lost. I think they said 6 people. We shut down the oil refinery, and everybody left except for a core crew.
By the way, 2023,
why?
2024, they do not shut down the oil fields.
No,
they keep this working while you're blowing stuff up and fighting the monsters. Okay?
While monsters are
There's
eating
money
people,
to be made.
Yeah. But anyways, so like I said, they had the core crew there, and I'm just like, why are you here? Why is the geologist like? What are you doing? Like. That's like, right, you can't go out there and do any surveys. You can't do anything to find more oil right now. So I'm like, why are you, other than, like I said, she's the love interest, but I'm like, other than that, there is no logical reason that when you're shutting down the company and only keeping the core people you need, that the geologist is still on site.
Yeah.
Like, she should be
So my interpretation is that she was in a relationship with Julio.
I thought she was in a relationship with this. Oh.
Because there's literally a question later where he's like, are you seeing anybody? And she's like, not since yesterday when he died.
She says, not since the monsters show up. And I thought, my interpretation was because they said that they lost the chef. I thought she was dating the chef because that was when the monsters showed up. But maybe, yeah. I don't know. When she said that line, I was like, that's like I thought like maybe she's just joking. But if not, I'm like, if you really were, whether it's Julio or anybody else, and you're just that nonchalant about like they just got eaten by a monster, but what you doing later tonight?
No, I think it was Julio. The guy gets his arms like he has his arms on the truck that he comes to try and pick him up.
People's reactions in this were so bizarre.
Yeah,
because like there's a scene, I think it's when the truck first wrecks, where, and I guess you could say maybe it's like PTSD or something, but still, freaking Earl. I'm just about to say Burt, but no, Earl is freaking out. And Grady is the one who's acting calm. Which I'm like, really, the taxi cab guy? And there's like another
just having
scene.
Fun, man.
There's
He's
another
with his
scene
hero.
where a little bit later, or there's a scene where Kate freaks out at something, but then like 2 seconds later, sees the one like cool heads prevail, and I'm just like, people's emotions just fluctuate.
No, there's
so
a scene later on. So like
this,
when we have the land graboids running around, I wish they'd given them a name. I don't think they did.
No.
When they first attack, she is a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
She's hiding in the corner, shaking with a little pick hammer thing. And then, like, 10 minutes later, he's like, I very rarely meet a woman and keep her head on her shoulders. I'm like, she was losing it a minute ago.
He's like, what's important to me is a woman who can keep her calm and handle herself. And I wrote down, actually, in my notes, I have written down, I was like, when did she ever do that?
Towards the end, a little bit. Bit. Anyway, they do the RC car thing,
which is one of the scenes that like was one of the first scenes when I saw. I was like, this is something my childhood remembered. Because of course, any kid's gonna be like, "That's awesome, RC cars with dynamite."
Have you ever seen the Manhattan Project? Is that what it is? Where the kid builds a nuclear bomb, and he uses the RC car to steal the uranium or plutonium. I know a movie we're going to cover pretty soon, Donnell. Maybe it's not the Manhattan Project, but basically like they're refining plutonium in his town, and he meets the guy who's running the facility. He's like dating his mom, and he's a super genius kid. And he's like, I got a school science fair coming up. You know what I'm going to do? Because he gets a tour of the facility for some stupid reason. Anyway, I'm telling you, like the whole movie. But he's like, oh, there's some plutonium in my hometown. I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to build a nuclear bomb for my high school science project. Yeah. Kind of thing. And the way that he steals the plutonium is with a, like, roboticized RC car. Okay. It's a very iconic scene if you've seen the movie. Fantastic. Okay. Anyway, we get this montage of killing, which I'm like, we're just in it. We're just in it. We're just killing graboids
real quick,
left and right.
They make an attempt, because as I've already voiced twice now, and will probably voice again, why is the military handling this? But they make an attempt to kind of explain this where they literally, I forget, someone's like, why don't the military's like, really, you want a bunch of guys running around here that have
That's fantastic.
graboids going all different directions? And I'm like,
yes.
I was like,
A little.
yes. And then also, even if you don't, it's like, still, okay, well, what are you guys going to do? You're going to attract them as a two-man team. I'm still saying a highly skilled, highly trained military unit working together and doing the exact same thing as you two both are doing is way more effective. Yeah. So it still makes no sense.
There's more sophisticated ways you could do this, like just putting a bomb, putting it into the ground, and then above a thumper device.
Yeah, I'm about to say
a thumper device, and just wait for the graboid to come and eat it.
Exactly.
Maybe put it in an animal of
you don't even need to be out there in the field. You just plant it and leave.
Yeah, you do this remote. Yeah, absolutely. Also, this chain thing is real bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're dragging this chain around. It's unnecessary. There's no way that
the
chain
truck
is making
makes more than enough noise.
Exactly. And you snag that on a rock, you're just going to rip the back of the truck off. I mean, later on, they show that it just snaps in half. But I'm like, that could go another way. Yeah.
And the other thing I got is, like I said, we get this nice montage of them blowing up graboids. And the question I have is, because one thing he was like, we want all the graboids coming to us. It's like, yeah, no, you don't.
Not all at once.
Exactly. And then also, but that was my question, like, why are the graboids only coming one at a time? Like, they don't explain it.
Well, they stop coming one at a time later, but
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, during this montage, they attract one RC car, blow it up, and I'm just like, that makes no sense.
The first movie seemed to indicate that they were pack hunters.
Yeah, they seem to work as a unit, you know? So I'm just like, what has changed between these movies?
I love this little scene they get where the radio's on the ground and then all of a sudden it gets swallowed up and he's like, you left the radio.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great little thing. And of course, that one returns
when
later on.
When it comes back, and like I said, I have so many issues with Grady, but when Grady's like, oh, I know this song. I'm like, okay, no matter what, even if you didn't see the radio get eaten, even if you didn't know, if you are in the middle of a field where there are monsters that are, killing people and stuff, and suddenly you hear music coming from the ground, you don't stop to be like, oh, I know this. So I was like, no, something bad's coming. Even if you didn't see the radio get eaten, you know that there's monsters on the ground that eat stuff, and now you hear music coming out of the ground. You're in the middle of nowhere.
Grady's not very smart.
No, he's not very smart. Which leads to the other thing is also one thing about, so we already talked about the scissors, paper, rock.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing is, how does Grady
Yeah.
not know what rock, paper, scissors
Because
is.
he's calling it scissors, paper, rock. He's confused.
Because he's like very bad. Like every time he loses, he's like, wait, what?
By the way, a man who drives taxis in Las Vegas.
No clue.
No clue what this there's got to be a gambling thing for rock, paper, scissors. Like,
yeah, I'm just like, no, this man makes no sense.
So they spend the night on a rock. I love that they spend some time on rocks and on trucks and just sitting on stuff and whatnot. I'm like, dude, if it gets nighttime, I'm out of there. I am not hanging around at night.
I'm not staying. There's nothing that says I gotta stay out here. I'm going out. I'll go out. I'll hunt some graboids. I'll come back, have myself a good meal in a house.
Yeah,
and not worry about it.
But I also like the little joke of like the coyotes being loud. He's like, "You better shut up!" And then all of a sudden you hear him yell again. Just strap some bombs to animals and just let them go out there. I got a question though.
Okay.
So they kill in this montage and whatnot over a couple of days. They kill 14 of these things. How do you prove it?
I wrote that down. I was like, how do you have any proof of how many you kill? Like, I was just like, I mean, I guess maybe you mark where you blew them up and then people can go dig up the corpse, I guess. That's the only thing.
There would be leftovers.
There'd be leftovers in the ground. So, like, I guess you got to be marking where each one was killed because, I was like, you have no proof. Yeah. I mean, yes, I guess you can prove that
videotaping
you killed the graboids because they're gone, but how can you prove how many you killed? But yeah, so they're doing pretty well until, as we already talked about, the stupid chain thing gets caught by the graboid.
Yep.
And so they start panicking, but before like the truck gets pulled, I was like, okay, so conveniently, for so far up until this movie, that shortly after this changes, but so far in this movie, it's been one graboid showing up at a time.
Yeah.
Said graboid currently has a chain in its mouth and is moving away from your truck.
Yep.
I'm like, just hop out and detach it. Like, either A, when you hop out, it will stop and start coming back towards you, which you'll clearly see because the chain will stop being pulled away and start coming towards you. Or B, it has a chain in your mouth and it's just going to keep going. So this was like, you're not really at it. Like, you have a huge alarm system by the chain. You can see where it's going. and you don't want your truck to get pulled and wrecked. Just hop out and detach the chain, but they're just like panicking and stuff. And I was just like,
also that truck doesn't have like chain cutters in its tool box or something. Yeah,
we see how like I really do love when Burt shows up and he's like, yeah, that's all you asked the military for. Because I'm like, we see how underprepared Errol is, and once again, like I said, that's because he's just a guy who got lucky and survived the first movie. He was not.
I mean, they've got a gun too. I'm like, just shoot the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, they get pulled up onto the rock by that graboid, and then all of a sudden 8 are coming towards them, and they're like, "We got to get out of here." I'm like, "How do you get out of there?
Yeah,
man? You're being chased by graboids and all that stuff, and it looks like they're almost as fast as your truck. On this non-flat ground and stuff." Anyway, he decides he's going to call in some reinforcements. He's going to call Burt Gummer to the rescue, and Burt is not doing super great.
I mean, one is it looks like Burt didn't get any cut of this pie. I mean, he doesn't seem to be doing any better off than he was. So I'm like, what? Only.
Well, he fixed his place. He's got his gun wall back up.
Yeah, I guess his wall was fixed, so I guess he did get some money.
we need to know Burt Gummer's past. Maybe other movies like touch on it or something, but I like to imagine he was like some sort of businessman or something, or maybe he stole a bunch of money while he was overseas in a war or something like that. But yeah, we need to know what Burt Gummer's finance situation.
But yeah, this is where we get to find out that unfortunately Heather left him. Went to her sisters, and Burt makes it clear a little bit later, like he knows she ain't coming back. She's moved. I mean, when you
He's
really
still
think
keeping
about,
up appearances somewhat.
When
though.
like I said, Tremors at the end of this movie, Earl conveniently finds his own geologist to fall in love with. But overall, I'm like, when you really look at Tremors, like it's a sad story. Like other than Kevin Bacon's character, everybody just kind of like they didn't benefit from it. You know.
Well, I mean, there's like the scene earlier when he was like, "Oh, who named them graboids?" It's like, "Oh, this guy named Chang."
Yeah.
Then he got eaten by one. Like moments later. Okay, it upset me that as much time as they spend talking about MREs in this movie, that he's just eating a regular TV dinner. Microwave dinner. I'm like, he should be eating an MRE when Burt calls.
But yeah, Burt's ready to go. Excited to come down.
Yeah, I do have the question though. Who has the wall mount? What is that in a museum or is that in SS Wilson's house? Somebody has to have that stuff.
That graboid. Yeah. Who does? I bet there's that one.
If I walked into some rich person's place and just all of a sudden I saw that, I'd be like, "You and me, we can talk."
You're my kind of rich person. So then we get the baffling scene with our new geologist, which, like I said, this is where it's weird because like we haven't seen her for most of the movie or the beginning of the movie. We got her introduction and then she's just gone, and then we're back with her again, and she has a fossilized graboid spike. That clearly looks like a graboid spike. It doesn't look like anything else. And she says, "I've been staring at this for a month." I'm like, "You've been staring at this for a month, and you just now hey, this is a graboid." I was just like, "What?"
Yeah, you haven't been studying the graboid pictures for a month too, just like, hey,
a month. But anyways, this is where
we find out they're pre-Cambrian.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Makes me go, like, so as we've talked about, and like you can find in Egypt, and this is how we know that how cats have been around for so long. You find, like, of course, art, but like different sculptures and stuff. So these ancient cultures had cats. You find all this like evidence of ancient cultures dealing with animals, even if they interpreted them wrong. Like even like things like dragons. Usually, if you look back far enough, like it was maybe a kimono dragon or a different lizard of some sort that people like and they overexpose it. So I'm just like, how has no culture, nobody, they've been around since before everything else. Like this is the essentially primal being.
Which by the way, and Burt is upset. Sorry, not Burt. Earl is upset that they're not aliens. I'm like that. This points me more towards that they are aliens because
dropped up.
There's only
no
other stuff
evolutionary chain.
was like little bitty tiny microscopic
exactly
things,
amoebas and stuff. So I'm just like, there's no evolutionary track that went over here while everybody else.
Also, like the fossil is from pre-Cambrian too, right? by the way, that fossil would be the find of the
Oh,
century.
yeah.
Because she knows it's Precambrian.
Yeah.
And a fossil of anything bigger than an amoeba, that would be studied by thousands of paleontologists.
Fossil would make you more money than what you're
regardless
going to
of
make
knowing
hunting.
whether it's a graboid or not. Yeah.
But I say that fossil would make you more money than what you'd make hunting these graboids.
I also have the question of like, why would the graboids look the same? Look how fast they can change.
That's what I literally put down as one of my things. Is like, so they're Precambrian, but they have evolution has not touched them until just now, where they get our first evolutionary change from worm to bipedal thing, and I was just like, no. But yeah, so we get a little bit of backstory on them. I still don't know how they've been hidden for so long, but then Burt arrives.
Well, maybe they were like deeper, and something woke them up.
Yeah,
or forced them to the surface.
Maybe,
like
global warming.
The modern world just
all
just
the oil drilling.
Well, like in the original movie, the four kind of makes sense because they're in like a bowl.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
They're trapped. They can't get out, and there's not many people there.
Yeah.
And it just takes like maybe they were just out there wandering around and just nobody knew because it's sparsely populated and there's no reason to be out there. Though one would ask, like, why didn't they get woken up by the construction building the giant trench that cuts through the valley? But anyway, whatever.
What was that trench for?
We still don't know. Water runoff or something. Stealing water for California from the Columbia River or something. Colorado River, sorry.
But so Burt arrives, and he arrives in a giant truck that so here's the thing. I was going to save this till later, but talking about evolution and these things evolving in this movie, I don't think that's what happened. Because honestly, they devolved. Remember the first movie, they could hear for miles and track things? I'm like, Burt's truck alone should have brought every graboid in the area straight into the oil refinery.
Yeah.
And then also, so their hearing sense goes down. And then also, once they turn into this bipedal version, they are severely worse than when they were worms.
I don't know. Are they? I mean, tracking people, sure, because they just have the heat vision.
Yeah, and the heat vision is very, very like near. Like when, like they're literally like when Burt is in the tractor or the little the bulldozer's scoop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I get. Maybe you say that's metal, so they can't see heat through it. Sure, but I'm like, okay. The rest of them are up on an oil rig, and remember in the originally especially when they could only check, they would wait days, and they could tell that you were still on the rock, and now they don't even know they're up there. Like they're just so focused on still fighting Burt, even though they should be able to feel the heat from them standing out in the open.
I mean, I see them as much more deadly.
I don't know.
And they multiply really
They do
fast.
multiply fast. That's the one advantage. But I was like, the other thing is like, I like their tongues. I know this sounds weird, but I was like, their original tongue was a snake-like being that was strong, very agile, like they could coordinate very well.
We didn't get any of that, the snake tongue from even the big graboids.
Yeah, and then I was like, but the new graboids, like I said, is a slug-like being that just kind of flops around haphazardly and doesn't really do anything. So I was just like, they lost their strength. They were able to rip buildings apart and destroy cars. And now in their small form, they can't get out of a little shed. Like
I don't know why they weren't able to get out of the shed or the cage that he puts them in later. We're so far ahead.
I know. I've been wanting to talk about this for so long.
Eat just like car engines.
They can
just munch through car engines and steel sheet metal walls and everything. Yeah, why can't they get out of the barn and out of the cage?
They make it very clear that their only sense they have is their heat vision.
Yep.
They don't smell anything. They don't hear anything.
Yep, they don't see anything.
They don't see anything. And I'm like, okay, well, they're underground. Like, my thing is like evolution, when it happens, is usually like you usually are acquiring things to get better.
No, that's not how evolution works. Evolution works by a random mutation.
Yeah.
And if you are allowed to continue breeding, then the evolution keeps going on, right? If it's not advantageous to breeding, then it dies out.
Yeah.
But these things breed so insanely quickly. I'm just saying
things lose features. Like you hear about, like fish down in the deep ocean. Yeah. Over a year, they lose their eyes because they don't need them anymore. Yeah. My question is, they had in the first movie, and supposedly in this movie too, they had probably one of the best hearing abilities
Yeah.
out there. Why would they evolve to lose that when nothing has changed?
Because they don't evolve into something to purposely. It's just a random mutation, and
All I
that random
know-
mutation didn't have that ability, and it
that
didn't
random
stop them from breeding.
mutation, yeah, all I know is
Well,
that random
I mean,
mutation
is it
is
an evolutionary
severely-
thing, or was it more like a cocoon metamorphosis thing, right? Because
Yeah.
is this because it happened to all of the big ones
It
at
did,
once, right?
it
It
did.
wasn't just some random thing.
Yeah.
So is this, and it's too specific. It's not like a small change. It's like
Yeah.
an entirely new subset thing
Yeah.
going on. So maybe this is just part of the life cycle. Like once
I
it's
guess
eaten enough
Once they've
human
eaten
flesh,
enough, they become
yeah, it's gotten enough niacin in the blood
a
or
terrible
something.
version of themselves. Because I'm just saying, the worms are so much better of a predator
Yeah.
and so much more intimidating than these little things were. Like, not just the size. I'm just like, of looking at all their abilities and their capabilities, I'm like, the worm is way more effective at hunting, at tracking, at attacking, at almost everything than these. Like I said, the only thing that these little things have is they can breed like
Who are you to
crazy.
question pre-Cambrian life stages here, okay? Humans have only been here for like, a couple of 100,000 years. These things been around for like a 2 billion or something. Like,
Didn't evolve until just now. No.
Yeah.
But anyways, back
anyway,
to,
my
back to this.
at my age, let's see, I would have been 14 when this
Mhm.
movie came out. I did watch it when it came
Yeah.
out. Elephant guns were badass in my
Oh
view.
yeah,
They were
Yeah.
they were it.
they
like-
were. But I will say,
They're up there with like Barbie dolls and Tonka trucks and
Yes.
stuff like that. Like an elephant gun is cool. It is in the mythos. It's up there with quicksand.
Yep,
Like,
yep. So yeah, Burt shows up, and like I said, he has a truck full of plastic explosives, dynamite, guns, a whole bunch of ammo, 2 elephant guns, a high-powered sniper rifle. And
Yeah.
my thought is this: okay, I know I've brought it up the Mexican military multiple times, but here's my so they're not here. Fine, they're not going to do it. But I'm like, why would the Mexican military or any military give foreign people
yeah.
who just showed up in their country and yet here to do something for a company, but
Because
this
the
company
oil company's got a lot. Petromaya's got a lot of
still,
pull.
you're
Yeah.
going to give 3 foreign guys enough weaponry to level a town.
Yeah.
The military, just
Yeah.
3 guys, you know nothing
No
about.
background checks or
No,
something.
exactly.
You do
You're
a
just-
background check on Burt Gummer, he's not getting
Exactly.
in the
You
country.
do a
Yeah.
background check for Montgomery, he is not.
And also,
coming
he's
in.
got like, he gets like a missile or something, or like a
Mhm.
rocket. Like, he's got like a rocket or something
Yeah.
in there. And the kids, Grady's like, yeah, this is what are we gonna use this for? He's like, oh, that might go into my personal
Yeah,
collection.
he's like that.
The United States is not gonna let you,
back over the
carry
wall.
a rocket from Mexico
that's
to
the
the
thing,
United
Robert.
States, even in
That's
1996.
the thing, Robert.
Yeah.
Who said anything about let?
You're not getting that. Yeah, you're not
Burt
getting that
Gumner.
to the Burt.
He knows what he's doing.
He's gonna stuff it in a graboid and have the graboid take it under the border and bring it to.
But yeah.
Anyway, he's got a little tank RC car thing. He's like, he's criticizing them, but for that idea because he's like, you got all the unlimited resources and you're just gonna take the RC cars, but immediately he does try.
I mean, I agree with Burt. I think I would have asked for. I mean, I'm not saying the RC cars is the bad, but I would have definitely asked for more than just dynamite and some RC cars. They'd be like, let me get some of them guns and stuff too. But yeah, he has his own little tank one. I like it. I love how military and stuff he is with it.
Yeah.
He's just all like got a bogey at corner 5, whatever. And he's just
I like that he's shooting his little documentary throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's driving, he's got the camera set up. He like clicks it on. He's like, I'm heading back to HQ. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
In 2 hours. I'm like, I'm assuming one of the movies is maybe like this, where it's just like him. I would watch. This seems like the way you do a new one is you do it like found footage of Burt that Burt Gummer character, like making the documentary of him doing one of his escapades, kind of thing. Like that would be really cool and kind of more modern take on it. For all I know, one of the other 9 movies or whatever is like that. So yeah, so they're having trouble finding another graboid to attack.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they see one, but it's moving away from them, and they
Exactly.
give chase. And then the guy's like, "This is gonna be a trick. This is gonna be an ambush." I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah,
The
exactly.
reason you're out here is because you know these things. You know
Yeah.
that they change tactics
Why
and
are
they get
you
smart.
chasing it?
Stop following.
I
it.
literally
Yeah.
thought the same thing. I was like, and he as he says, like, you're saying it, so stop.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. And I guess it was kind of a trap, but kind of not, because it's more of the thing was just going off to make its transformation.
Yeah.
It seemed, but they do get spooked by it and wreck the truck, and they can't get a hold of anybody because this is weird. Now that I think about it, because they say like they can't get a hold of anybody because the radio tower's down.
Yeah.
But that's because the graboids destroy it.
Yeah.
But they say it's because of the heat it was put off, which is the new graboids go to heat, which until this time we hadn't heard any graboids making that call.
Do we know that the radios aren't working because the tower's down, or is that something that happens later? But no, it makes sense though that the reason the radio stopped working is because the tower was down. But it's kind of a chicken and an egg thing. But the tower doesn't go down until
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. But that was one thing I noticed. But anyways, they can't get a hold of anybody, except they do manage to get a hold of Julio, who drives out there.
Well, no, because, they do get a hold of Julio on the radio.
Yeah, just him.
And then the radio goes down later after the things are released.
No, they couldn't get a hold of Burt because they tried to call Burt first.
Did they try and call Burt?
And then when they got through to Julio, they also tried to call the main base and didn't get through. They just coincidentally got Julio.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
But yeah, so they're sitting there, and the whole time, they're listening, so they're just waiting for Julio to come, and they're listening to the graboid doing whatever it's doing. And the whole time I'm just like, hey. And eventually Grady does say, oh, we can take this one back alive, which rightly pointed out by Earl's how are we going to move it? But anyway, still, before Grady points out that they have a live one they can take back, I was like, and I forgot about the extra pay. I'm like, why are you just sitting there? Just kill it. Grady kind of puts an RV car in front of it and sees if it will eat it, which it won't. And then they just kind of give up. I'm like, dude, you blow, even if it's not in its mouth, you blow that RC car up while it's right in front of its face, you're still going to just kill it. Why are you waiting to see what happens?
50K versus 100 is half. If it's $1 million, I'm taking my chances. Also, it's a sick one. They don't want a sick one.
Exactly.
As their live specimen.
And as far as you know, before they find out that it was spawning, it might just die. And then now you don't have just kill it.
Yeah.
But
anyway, Pedro shows up. He's in the distance, and they decide they're gonna walk over to him. I'm like, you're dead.
Because they see him stop.
Yeah.
He stops, and then they're like, oh, he'll come.
And they wait some unidentified amount of time. Yeah.
And so I mean, that thing is it's one of these they're like, oh, we don't have any on the radar, so we're fine. And I'm like, okay, well, conveniently, it's because they're all evolving. But my thing is just if there's any graboid that hasn't evolved yet, that's still in the ground, you're dead.
Yeah.
That vehicle, they could barely make it to in the first movie, barely make it to the geologist chick's car without a graboid immediately being sensed on them. Where I'm just that was at least 2 football fields distance away. So
more than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. More than that. And so I'm like, you're dead. It's all by coincidence.
It's a mile.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 100%. You're 100%. There's no way you're dead. It's all coincidence that you live.
Yeah, especially
because they all transform.
You're at nighttime, and the ground graboids can see in the dark because they have the heat vision.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they made it to his car, but they do, and they find it destroyed. And then I like when they're like, "Oh, he's just hanging on the back," and I'm just like, even if he is there, there's something wrong with him. You shouldn't be like, "Oh, he's just right here," because one is his truck's destroyed, but also, if he heard you there, why would he just stay hanging on the back of his truck? Why wouldn't he say, hey, I'm up here, guys? So the fact that he's like, oh, he's just right here. They're all excited, oh, how's it going, Julio? And I'm like, no, Julio's obviously injured or dead, dead, because you don't just, especially when there's monsters around. Why would you get out of the truck? Yeah, I don't know. Why? There's so many points. Grady, before they transform, there's a couple different scenes where Grady's standing around on the ground, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Same with actually Burt does it a few times where he's standing on the ground before the graboids transform. I'm like, what are you, especially you, Burt?
Yeah.
You lived through this. You do not get on the ground. But anyways.
Anyway, we get a brief scene where Burt is lost and trying to find his way back and looking for a map. Yeah. And he gets ambushed.
He gets ambushed by a bunch of them.
Yep.
And you're meant to think that that's the end of Burt.
Yep.
But it's not, because he has many, many sequels to make.
We move over. We're back at HQ. Kate and Julio are there.
Yep.
And Julio gets just... I loved how abrupt and chaotic this just comes out of nowhere. He's just peeking through the window, and all of a sudden just shit busts loose.
On the other side of this coin, though, and it's one of the well, this is a scene that, the scene is set up this way so this can happen. But I'm like, who walks up to a random, to talk to, you just would walk in the front door and be like, hey, Kate, why would you just poke your head through the window like that and then just hang out there? And it was it's just convenient so he can get attacked and eaten in this scene. But I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so Kate, basically they get back or graboid minis. That's what I'm going to call them. Mini graboids.
Yep.
I get back to the camp before everybody else.
Groundoids.
Groundoids. We'll go with that. Trademarked. Watching a podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was the groundoids. Basically, they're attacking Kate. She goes and barricades herself in a room. And then you clearly 100% hear Earl's voice.
Yep.
And him killing them. And Earl approaching the door. And Earl opening the door. And Kate still like jumps up like she's going to attack him. I'm like, you knew it was Earl.
Yeah.
You knew 100%. You hear Earl say multiple lines and also killing graboids and approach. You also hear Earl getting closer to the door. You knew 100% it was not a graboid opening that door.
Yeah.
Why do you spring at him like you're going to attack him?
And then immediately we have another super situation with Earl and Grady and her.
Mm-hmm.
Where all of a sudden the whole place is shaking and they're like, oh my God, what is that? I don't know. Maybe the thing that made it shake the last time it was shaking, the Burt's truck. Yeah. But this is where you get my favorite line in this whole movie.
Yes.
Which is, I feel I was denied critical need to know information.
Yes.
Such a classic line, delivered perfectly.
Yeah.
And then it's followed up with, I'm completely out of ammo.
Yeah.
Just
and also I love that's never happened to me before.
Michael Gross really is a treasure in this movie and the previous movie as well. I don't know how he does in the other movies because I don't think I've seen any of them.
He keeps the franchise going, so he must still be doing.
Steals the show in this moment.
Yeah. This is where they decided, this is our main character going forward.
Yeah. Well, Fred Ward was like, no, I'm not doing any more of these. But Michael Gross is like, I'm coasting on that family show money.
Yeah. So he survived, but he used all his ammo. His truck is a wreck, and basically, they're out of luck. All the vehicles are destroyed, except for Julio, who they very quickly moved past. Especially if you are correct that she was dating him, they very quickly moved past. I mean, I know you're in the middle of a terrible situation with monsters, but I still feel like they moved past Julio died. Just like, Julio's dead. All right, moving on.
Well, she was either dating Julio or Pedro. One of the two.
Yeah, one of them. But so Burt though managed to catch one of them.
Yep.
And has it strung or tied up in his car.
Yep.
My question is, in the next scene when they have it in the cage, why is it no longer tied up?
That's right. And how did you get it untied without getting eaten? And also, he's like, it's 1,000-pound tested rope, right? Mm-hmm. These things eat car engines.
Yep.
1,000 pounds is nothing to them.
I'm not helping you pick that up. But he didn't just bring back one. Apparently, he brought back two.
Yeah, unknowingly.
Because one was somehow, because they don't have hands, and I don't know how it was, but somehow clung onto the bottom of the truck. And they discover while looking at the one in the cage that they're not. What's the word now? When you can breed without a
hermaphroditic,
something like that.
She calls them hermaphrodites.
Yeah,
but I don't. It's like single cell mitosis or something like that.
There's a scientific name for that. I feel like I should know, but I don't. But anyways, they can breed. Because
hermaphroditic would mean that they were both male and female.
Yeah,
but no, these are like spores. Things.
I mean, there's lizards that can do this too, but I can't remember what they're called. Anyways, they don't need a mate.
We're not scientists here.
They don't need a mate. They
podcast.
can just once they eat enough is what they discover, they can just spawn another one. And that is when we find out that those MRIs that Burt has are going to good use because the one that stowed away has already produced like 8, 9 of them like instantly, and you're just like, damn, they don't mess around. But and so we get, and this is like I said, this is where I just feel like they're so depowered because basically after fleeing from the building and once again the question, I mean, no offense to Grady, or actually all offense to Grady, I can't stand the character, but they're running out and they're trying to find a place to hide, and he starts running towards a fake building or a half-built building,
unfinished building,
building, and he's running towards it, and Kate knows it's not.
Yep.
And she's like, stop, Grady, stop. And yet everybody runs into said half-built building. And I'm like, no. Play that scenario out again. And I'm Kate. I'm like, stop, Grady. And if you don't stop, like, have fun. And I'm going somewhere else. Like, I'm not following him. Like, I'm not going to just toss him to the wolves. I'll give him don't run over there. And I'm going to run this other direction.
It was a funny shot, though, when they run through the other side of the door. And it's just... empty.
Yeah.
Like-
And so then I was like, how can they not detect the heat? But I'm like, good old lead paint.
Yeah.
I was like, it has to be. That's the only thing because there's no way the building blocks all
Well,
the heat.
I mean, I think it would.
Mm.
Especially, I mean, also, they're like out in the Mexican desert.
Yeah, I guess.
Basically, like,
I still feel like,
It'd be
especially when
hot
they're
out
carrying
there,
those doors, like I said, their heat vision just seems so weak compared to their sound ability. But still, anyways, they discover that they can't, as long as they're behind something, apparently, their heat can't be picked up.
Yeah.
And so they decide to go for Julio's truck.
Yeah. And then they see one,
Yep.
and they're like, Bert's gonna make the shot, 100 yards with a scoped tank gun.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I could make the shot.
Yeah.
Everyone's
everyone's
you
like,
can't do it. You only got one
they're like,
bullet.
you
I'm
only
like,
have one bullet. Watch out. You
I've
better
never
make this
fired
shot
this
count.
particular gun in my life. I could make this shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though, real quick, talking about these guns, I just want to say that no matter what, Earl, broken collarbone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because he's been firing an elephant gun multiple times. And like with the elephant gun, because you're usually hunting elephant, you're not, running and gunning.
Rhinos, anything. Yeah. Something
You
like that.
you are posted up. You get yourself secured and ready to shoot. You don't just lift it to your shoulder and shoot.
Yeah.
And so like he fires this elephant gun multiple times, just running and gunning. I'm like, no, you gotta have proper form or else you are wrecked.
There's a video where they have
And same with Burt though with this tank sniper rifle.
Yeah.
I'm like,
who I don't remember the name of the actor bodybuilder that plays the Mountain
Oh yeah, I know.
in Game of Thrones. But just a giant man, giant human being, right? And they have a video where he basically shoots a bunch of guns, and they record it in slow-mo, like starting with like a 22 caliber going all the way up to like, I don't know, some kind of crazy launcher thing. And it's just like when he gets up to like the 50 caliber, like elephant gun, anti-tank bullet kind of stuff, like his whole body just like ripples and is moved back several feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this man is like 6 to 8 Earls.
Yeah.
Like Earl would just his entire upper like torso would shatter.
Just disintegrate. I was like, no, you just don't run and gun with an elephant rifle. But anyways, yes, Burt makes the shot that anybody could have, as Robert already said. I've shot guns, but it's been a long time. But I guarantee, like I said, anybody can make this shot. Whether or not my arm would survive said shot is a different question.
They in an homage, I would say, to the previous movie, they climb up on some tanks. Of liquid. Yeah.
Some oil tanks this time. While Burt is hiding in the bucket of a tractor. And this is, like I said, once again, back normal graboids, not groundoids, that tongue would have easily snaked over there and found him.
Would have seen him. It would have had eyes or something.
Yeah, but groundoids, their tongue just kind of flops around and gives up. And I was like, that's pathetic.
Doesn't have to be the perfect design, just has to be able to continue breeding.
I don't know how they pull that off, Robert.
I love the idea of him like getting the hot water and putting it on the jumpsuit and then pulling it across the clothesline to draw their attention. Just there's a lot of really fantastic little details and things that they do in this.
Yes. So they're up on top of the oil rig. Their plan is just to wait because they're like, well, someone's gonna notice eventually, which I'm like, maybe, but also you're in the middle of the desert with no water. Like, that's not, like, besides what's about to happen, which makes them where they spur to action. I'm like, that's not a solid plan just in itself. Like,
and how do you know people are coming?
Well, because
and how do you know that they're gonna get to you? And not get eaten by the little monsters that are everywhere, the groundoids.
Like, there's lots of things, but even if that plan is sound, I'm just like, you don't know how long you're on top of those things.
Unless you're on a water tower, you're dead in 4 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyways, the groundoids start building a tower.
So before they start building the tower, this seems to be like a good opportunity to just start hitting on a girl.
Oh yeah, I wrote that down.
She's trapped on this water tower with him for an indeterminate amount of time. You're gonna shoot your shot and hope you don't get turned down. And it's of course she's not gonna turn him down because of the implication.
Yeah. But also, here's the other thing, Robert. I wrote this down. And I was like, this is Earl's MO. Because in the first movie, he would kept on having Kevin Bacon like, come on, man, make your move. I'm like, really, Earl? This is the time while you're running from monsters to be like, why aren't you making a move with that chick? You should try. I'm like, Earl, he is just terrible when it comes to timing.
Yeah. And I really hated that she just happened to be the same
I thought that was
pinup,
dumb.
Playboy
that was
pinup.
incredibly
yeah.
dumb. I was like, come on, no. I'm not saying that a Playboy playmate can't become a geologist.
No, absolutely
but
not.
But the fact that the exact one that he's been eyeing for so long
for
and
20 years,
stuff happens to be the exact one he randomly runs into Mexico and just no.
By the way, he's like, that's his dream girl.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look like, oh no, that's just like a hot poster on the wall. Like, this is the woman he wants.
Yeah.
She's out there, man.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of in the same field you're in.
Yeah.
You can find her.
Yeah.
Like, and y'all would get along just fine, as you can see. Like, you ain't got to go find her at some Hollywood or the Playboy Mansion or something. Like, she's just a person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't try very hard.
He didn't try at all.
He could have made that how it happened decades ago, for sure. Yeah.
So Burt decides when he sees them building a tower that he's going to get their attention.
Yep.
And have them chase him. So he runs them through a building and out the other door, and he quickly closes one door. And before they can come out the door they went in, which I feel like, especially if they track heat, they should have known he was running around the building. But he runs back to the other door and closes it. But the door he closes them in, or the building he closes them in, is filled with sweet flour, it sounds like.
Yeah, rice flour.
Rice flour.
Yeah.
And so, they're going to eat and eventually produce enough of them to bust out. Here is my question, though, Robert, because they have made it very clear that these things only eat stuff by detecting two methods. Either A, based off of heat, which is why they ate the engine, or B, their tongue tastes something they like, and then that's why they eat if they find a person who's, or find something, food, like the MRI. But remember, the MRI packaging was ripped open.
Yeah.
So tongue got up in there, got a taste, and was like, eat this. Everything inside this warehouse is plastic wrap and in boxes.
Yep.
How do they know it was food?
Yeah.
Like that was when
they
can't smell it. They have no other. They just have heat vision and a tongue. They're not. The cardboard box don't taste good.
The tongue does have little spikes on it, so maybe it pierces through through the container and just
I was just like, here's another one of them holes with these things. But anyways, they start eating. They start making more. What do you think of Earl's plan here?
Stupid, but not totally stupid.
Not totally. But my thought is this. Have you ever messed with dry ice and stuff?
No, because it's dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It Earl. Don't get me wrong. I think this is the solid plan for this. But the fact that Earl comes out the other side unscathed.
Well, I mean, he does cover all his
He's wrapped up, but I'm
skin.
I don't know, man. That much. If you had enough on you to completely cover you, even breathing it in, and it's all around your face.
Oh, breathing it in is toxic.
Breathing it in is going to mess you up. If any of your skin is out there touching it directly, you're going to get freaking burns,
coal burns, man.
I'm just, I know. No, I'm not saying don't do it because, like I said, you're in a dead. My thing is the fact that he comes out the other side, just and I'm good.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no, you're not.
Also, the stuff would flake off you so fast. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially in that heat. It wouldn't last long enough. But anyway, so what we're talking about is Burt. They decide they got it. Someone needs to go in there, plant a bomb.
Yep.
Because if not, they're going to keep eating until there's just too many of them, and then they're going to kill everybody.
Yep.
And so Burt, with one last game of scissors, paper, rock.
Yeah.
Burt cheats and tells Grady, which I was like, send Grady. Let Grady go in and let him get eaten. But anyways, Burt cheats and wins when Grady picks paper and he picks rock. And he gets himself covered in not CO2. What is it? I can't remember. Nitroglycerin?
CO2.
Nitroglycerin or something. Yeah, CO2.
Yeah.
Anyways, completely
from the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, to lower his temperature, and goes into the warehouse. And my whole thought process is, I know we're low on you all got to get in here quick, but I'm like, you got to have there was no escape plan. Was his game plan, which it doesn't seem like it. It seemed like he wanted to live, but was his game plan to give his life? Because he didn't have any other plan.
I think it was. I think he knew it was a one-way mission.
Yeah. But Grady does one positive thing and saves him with a fire hose provided by Burt. And that's when we discover, because I thought about this too. I was like, Burt's truck, he had no ammo, but you don't use explosives to fight in close combat. So I was like, Burt's truck is full of explosives
Yes.
and a missile. And so like I just love when
2,000 pounds worth.
yeah, I just love when they're running and they're like you gotta run, and they're running and like everyone's behind a building and he's like run past
Or,
like,
or was it 2,000 tons?
not 2,000
something like
tons. It was pounds.
It could be 2,000 tons.
No. No.
That's a big explosion. I mean,
It's a
pound
big
2,000 pounds is nothing.
I feel like it.
I guess
Fine.
could the truck carry 2,000 tons?
Yeah.
I mean, it would shake an area.
Shake an area.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just love when they're running and then everybody else like stops behind a building a little bit away and Bert's like, "No, come on, we gotta go."
Again, I don't know if that's the director or the actor being like, "This is just me, like in this character," but yeah, Burt Gummer steals the show again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they blow them all up. And
how the kid doesn't die? The kid should have been dead.
Yeah, he should have. He
Yeah,
should have.
because he doesn't get behind.
And I would have appreciated it if he would have died.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's what I put down. I was like, I was like, and this is no offense to the actor, because like I said, maybe the director, this is the way the character was written. But I was like, this is no replacement for Kevin Bacon's character.
No.
And also, I was like, in watching this movie, because I'm not sure if you know, I had a lot of issues with the groundoids. I feel like they're a downgrade. But honestly, the thing that really tarnishes this movie for me is Grady.
The Grady character.
He's just so annoying through so much of the movie.
Easily overlooked.
Yeah.
Compared to everything else.
And he doesn't come back, so that's the good news.
Well, that's the movie. Fantastic. I loved it. I think it still holds up. It's a fantastic sequel.
Yep.
Who knows what world it gets into after this? Because I don't think I've seen anything
feel
after
like
this. I just know that
kid,
in the next one they fly.
Yeah, I feel like as a kid, and this is also me as a kid looking at it, so kid me could be very wrong, but I feel like the first 3, 1, 2, and 3, all hold up decent. And then everything falls off a bridge.
Fair enough.
So I feel like if we do decide to cover 3, I think we'll get one more good showing, and then we got to find another series to cover, Robert, because we don't need to get into 4.
Well, it's another 5 years before the next one comes out, because Tremors 3 comes out in 2001. So it was 1990, 1996, and then 2001. Yeah. Just every 6 years, he's like, all right,
need that paycheck.
Let's get in there. Michael Gross, you ready for another one? Yeah. As always, you can find us on our website, watchinitpod.com. There you can find links to our Instagram and other social media, as well as a link to email us, watchinitpodcast@gmail.com. Donnell, what else should they do?
Well, we're still in our little lull here. We're waiting for the boys to come back. I forgot, and I don't remember the date. I'll tell you on the next episode. But we have a release date for Invincible Part 2.
Now we're talking.
But anyways, we're in our lull between that stuff. So right now, we got a little special coming up. Little omelets. No, omeletto.
Omeletto, yeah.
And that has nothing to do with food.
Some YouTube content.
Yes. Some very good YouTube content.
Very extremely good.
So we're going to...
We also got some Oscars coming up here in a few weeks as well. Yep. We're gonna talk about all the Best Picture nominees. I'm not excited for watching it because they're all long movies.
Oh man, man.
I'm gonna have to watch Oppenheimer again. I did not want to do it the first time.
I don't know.
And Barbie.
Damn, why can't other movies be nominated for Oscars?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I will hold out because in previous years there have been some gems that have caught me off guard. So maybe they'll be in some of these not Oppenheimer or Barbie, but maybe in some of these other nominees, something will catch me up like, oh my gosh.
I'm sure. No, I think there's going to be some gems in there. There's a lot of them I haven't even heard of.
I went in negatively, or not negatively, but like not having high hopes. But I actually enjoyed Women Talking last year. I was like,
I thought that was great. Yeah, I mean, last year I really liked the Steven Spielberg redo of not Guys and Dolls, but
Fiddler on the Roof.
No, not Fiddler. No.
Sound of
Not Sound of Music.
What?
Nope.
Oh my goodness!
The one about the game.
I know.
Yeah. Hang on.
Folks, we are supposed to be
we gotta look this up.
We are supposed to be professional. We do this every year.
About gangs. This is gonna narrow it down. It's gonna be the first one though. West Side Story.
West Side. Oh my! How did we not get that? Yes. Yeah. No. That was great. That was great.
As long as there's not another Mank, but Oppenheimer's kind of there for me. That's what I'm just gonna say.
That will forever live in. Anyways, we got all that coming up, folks. So look forward to that, and thanks so much for listening. Bye.